When you think of Scotland, lots of images spring to mind, and one of them will undoubtedly be Scotch whisky. The Scotch Whisky Association, or SWA, has registered Scotch whisky as a geographical indication, which means there are strict guidelines around the production and packaging of Scotch whisky. Essentially, there has to be a Scottish origin for whisky to be called Scotch. Whisky that is being labelled to mislead a customer into believing it is Scotch is forbidden by law. The SWA is the association responsible for protecting the Scotch whisky brand worldwide. So what happens when a company tries to sell their whisky as Scotch when it is not? We're going inside the files of the Intellectual Property Office to find out why IP is so important to the Scotch Whisky Association.
We always take action against products which are falsely labelled as Scotch whisky or which are labelled in a way to make them look like Scotch whisky when they're not. Polonius Scotch whisky was on sale in China. It's a locally produced product and consisted of unaged neutral spirit. We've taken action against it and it's now off the market. Scottish Swordsman, which was smuggled into the UK from Italy, it's clearly been labelled in a way to suggest that it is Scotch when it's not. But that too is subject of legal proceedings in Italy. Skollen, that's another Chinese product. The brand name has been chosen to sound like Scotland, and also the Chinese company has gone to the lengths of registering its own non-trading company in Edinburgh to try and give it a veneer of respectability, but it is certainly not Scotch whisky. And finally, at the product from the UK, it's Prohibition Whisky, which claims to be a homebrew kit that will enable you to make your own whisky-flavoured drink within 2 to 3 weeks. Clearly these claims are false, and that is a matter which is being investigated by the authorities at the moment.
When Chinese companies began making trademark applications containing the word Glen for their whisky, the SWA had to take action.
We opposed all of the trademark applications, and in each case we filed a dossier of evidence highlighting the connection between Glen and Scotland. But unfortunately, they were all rejected by the Chinese Trademark Office.
Before appealing to the Chinese Trademark Review and Adjudication, Lindsey sought assistance from IP attaché Tom Duke. He is based at the British Embassy in Beijing, working alongside UKTI and British businesses operating in China, providing support and advice about the enforcement of IP rights in the Chinese market. Trade between the two nations is worth an estimated £42 billion, and Tom is the crucial link between British businesses and intellectual property agencies in China. Scotch whisky exports earn the UK £135 every second and generate an annual £4.3 billion. So protecting the intellectual property rights of Scotch whisky was an important task for Tom and the SWA.
Our first contact was to have a general discussion about our legal protection strategy in China. This is a very important part of our work at the Scotch Whisky Association.
Once Tom became aware of the situation, he was able to use his contacts to set up several meetings with various Chinese authorities. He explained the concerns of the SWA and demonstrated examples where similar applications had been opposed in other countries. By being based in China, Tom has been able to forge strong relationships and really understand the inner mechanics of protecting and enforcing IP in another country.
The opportunity for these meetings was only possible because of Tom's involvement. As a government employee, he was able to get access to Chinese officials where we could not.
Tom also drafted supporting letters against unfair competition cases and provided Lindsey and his team with good, practical and free advice on intellectual property matters.
Tom's efforts now appear to be bearing fruit because over the past year, the Chinese government has rejected 12 Glen trademark applications which were for Chinese spirits.
There are currently a number of cases awaiting decision, but Lindsey is confident the outcome will be in their favour.
I would recommend that other businesses seek the assistance of the IP attaché Even if you already have your own specialist advisors, the attaché's network of contacts and insight on the workings of bureaucracy can add a great deal to your IP strategy.
The UK Intellectual Property Office currently has attachés based in Brazil, Singapore, India and China. They are waiting to hear from you.